All right, everyone. I am back again with episode 7 of The Broken Dad with Dave Hodge, which is me, your host. And I want to, before we get this started, thank everyone who has been watching these videos, who's been reaching out to me, and those who have subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much. So, before we go any further, let's get this show on a roll.
I give you love, give you big love when you cannot love yourself. Yeah, I give you love. I'll give you hope, give you big hope, and we will be holding you up today. I know you're feeling like the world is on your shoulders.
All right. So, when I started this YouTube series, the whole idea is this. I lost a job that I spent a few months on solely making sure I could keep. And in order to keep this job, I had to pass a specific FINRA test, which is the Series 7. And I failed it 3 times. Last time was by 4 questions. And I was so close to passing this. And my heart was broken. And October 25th of 2023 was that day. February of 2024 is when life got back to normal for me. And I had this idea like, I'm a single father. I'm going through a lot of stuff in my personal life. I'm going through a lot of stuff, with my daughter. My daughter's going through some stuff. And as a father, I'm going through some things. But if I'm going through all these things, there's other men and fathers like me going through the same thing. And these things ain't talked about. So that's why I started this whole YouTube series to kind of talk about fatherhood, being a man in today's society. And what I've been my aim is to stay away from politics and social topics because I feel it's so dividing and would take away and do an immense disservice to what I'm trying to accomplish with these videos. I can't, as much as like a part of me wants to just go 100% full throttle into politics and, what society views us as a man, which, I can talk about to an extent. Um, it just wanting to be a good fit to what I'm overall trying to accomplish. What I like talking about is me being a father, me being a man, what I'm going through. I've talked about, losing my mom and, what that done to me, what I'm still going through. I've talked about my daughter, what she's gone through, what she experienced, and what we're still going through today. Um, and what I like to be doing is getting other, having guests on my YouTube videos, and talk with them about their experience of being a man and being a father or both. Um, and I'm still trying to find my voice and trying to find my niche in this whole, universe of, YouTube and whatnot. So for those who still stick in here with me, I appreciate it. Thank you. Um, So let's get this started. So I've mentioned it a few times in passing, maybe, but my intro song is by a band called Blue October, which I have started listening to back in 2007. Their first song was called Into the Ocean. The first song that I've heard from them that got me hooked and was made a fan right there and then. Their second song was called Hate Me. Um, but this one here, I feel, is more of, you know, for us to be there for one another. You know, if we see another one down, has fallen, let's show them love. Let's pick them up. Let's pick them back up and say, "Hey, you got this. We're going to do this together. I will hold you up until you are back on your feet again." Um, so let me play this song in its entirety because I know you only get a small clip it um, during my intro, but this song really needs to be heard. So again, this is Big Love by Blue October from their album Spinning the Truth Around Part 1.
Love, give you big love when you cannot love yourself. Hey, I'll give you love. I'll give you hope, give you big hope, and we will be holding you up today. I know you're feeling like the world is on your shoulders. I'm sure that it gets hard with all that you've been through. The walls are getting higher. You have to walk through fire. But I don't wanna do any of big love.
Hey man, this is Young Dada hollering to you. I'm headed for the bay. Thought I'd holler at you and Chairman. I just listened to Remission. That sure is a relaxing song. So thank you. Bye.
That was Big Love by Blue October, again from their album Spinning the Truth Around Part 1. Now, what you heard at the very end of that song was the lead singer's dad. The lead singer is Justin Furstenfeld. The drummer is his brother, and they lost their dad a couple years ago. So to hear that they, this song and at the end, um, have their dad's voice recording of a message he left them about a song from a previous album, it was just so awesome. Um, so I think us as men need to realize we really need to be there for one another. We need to be lifting each other up. We're all going through something. It don't matter what it is. Honestly, it don't matter what our skin color is, what our religion is, or anything else. We're men. This world expects so much of us, but yet won't give us our due most of the time. You hear so much about motherhood, you hear so much about women, which I ain't knocking them. It's just us men and us fathers, you know, our stories, our struggles, our existence needs to be at the forefront as well. Fatherhood is something special, you know. When I was younger, I didn't want kids. I wanted nothing to do with kids, and I held on to that until my wife at the time was pregnant with Leslie. My attitude changed, but I didn't get the, fatherhood experience that most get. My experience was in the hospital, wondering if my daughter was going to make it day for day, day to day. Um, my daughter back in 2005 had a rare seizure. She was in my arms, completely gone from this world, like no life. From head to toe, she was a dark purple. She didn't have a heartbeat, she didn't have a breath. She was gone. Um, 2012, that November, um, she had her last open heart surgery, which was vital and, very risky. I didn't know, I'd get to spend Christmas with her that year because her heart was so bad. Um, my daughter eats by feeding pump at nights. She'll do some food by mouth, toast, breaded stuff, some cremated stuff like um, mashed potatoes and stuff. She loves her M&Ms and whatnot, but this is my fatherhood. most of y'all out there don't are, your kid's born, and you get to, from the hospital to home and raise them the normal way. And then there's some of yous out there who lost their child, which is worse than what I've gone through in my lifetime. How do you overcome that? Who do you talk to? Can't talk to your significant other. Can't really talk to family because they're going through the same thing you are. You need someone who's not going through that. You need someone that's out of that whole loop of hurt and loss. And I feel that's where we need to step up and pick each other up, lift one another up, and whether it's praying for one another, whether it's just having these long talks, whether it's difficult, whether it's going to be difficult regardless. We need to let one another know, hey, I got you. Because this is a real thing that exists out there in the world for us as men, as fathers. And society doesn't want to talk about this. It's not important to it. I think it is. And I think it needs to be. And I think it needs to be a forced issue. I think we need to stand up and be like, hey, we're going through something real. It's time y'all start recognizing, hey, we're going through this. This is real. We need a better way of getting through this. Because come June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's not celebrated enough, if at all. I've got a family member who's lost a daughter, which I want to get on this show and talk about it. The good times he had with her and what he was going through at the end, where he is now after the fact. I have friends who have kids from multiple mothers. Well, I like to talk with them about that, what fatherhood's like, what they originally wanted out of life as far as kids versus what they got, and how they feel now versus then. Because I know I feel different now. My daughter is precious to me. I don't care what she's gone through. I don't care what obstacles she's overcame or had to go through. She's, like I said before, I think my daughter has saved me and is keeping me going and wanting to push harder and further into this world because she needs me. Now, the thing that bothers me at times and that I'm always afraid of, and this is part of why we need to step up as men and being there for each other. What if one day my daughter's just not here? My daughter eats on a feeding pump every night. My daughter sees her cardiologist twice a year. She sees her feeding team, or gastroenterologist, her gastro doctor once a year. Um, she's she's got other things going on with her. She's in a program called Project Life now, which she's eligible for Project Search after she gets out of Project Life. Again, my daughter's 21, but mentally she's really like 12 or 13. My mom's gone. My dad, was retired, went back to work. He's in his 70s. If something was to happen to me, my biggest worry is what would happen to her. And I worry about this on a daily basis. And so that's what triggers other issues for me. Am I taking care of myself the right way? Am I eating right? Am I exercising? Am I doing everything I need to make sure I'm in this for the extremely long run? The half-assed answer is I don't know. The real answer is no, I'm not. Um, because as a human being, a man, and the firstborn, the loss of my mom really messed me up to an extent, to where I wasn't taking care of myself, and now I'm in the middle of rectifying that and trying to get on track to a healthier lifestyle per se. I mentioned in the last episode or the episode before, I've cut back on coffee a lot. I've been drinking a lot of green tea, which has been a world of difference for me. I've been trying to make sure I have 3 meals a day, which I get tired of eating. Get tired of eating the same thing day in and day out, and I'm a picky eater, and so it gets frustrating. So sometimes I'm at 2 meals a day, um, and I'm snacking in between, which ain't really healthy. Um, I'm taking a vitamin every day. Um, but it's it's a slow process for me because I have to understand my daughter needs me, and I'm going to do what I can to be there for her. It's it's just not been an easy road, and I'm not sure if it's because it's life, if it's because this is being human, if this is what it's all about. We're here 1 minute, then we're gone at any given moment. Um, that's what bothers me. I want to make sure I'm doing the best I can for myself, so I'm there for my daughter for as long as possible because I can't imagine this world with my daughter here alone without me. And that's twofold because I can't imagine this world without her in this world. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know what I would do if anything was to happen to her. It's, and I'm just being honest, you know, like just being real about it, you know, and these are things to think about. I don't know why. I mean, obviously there's something there that's that I just can't either grasp, I can't get over, or something that's just not been rectified or been, I've had a conclusion on. Her mom, is gone, passed away because she wouldn't take care of herself. And I'm like, you know, has me freaking out. But, I'm still here today, which I'm happy, and I'm going to continue working on myself. You know, Humans aren't meant to be perfect. We like to think we can strive for perfection, but the reality is we'll never be perfect. Not in this lifetime, not in the next, not in the next million lifetimes. We're never meant to be perfect. Perfection is just out of our reach. We will always be striving. We will always be fighting. We will always have the struggle of perfecting something about ourselves, especially as men, you know? And that's just the reality of it. It's and that's what I'm dealing with right now mentally and emotionally. It's, no matter what I do, I'm going to feel like, there's going to be something wrong, you know? Even as a dad, I could do everything right, be there for my daughter, make sure she has a shoulder to lean on, make sure I'm a father first and foremost, and let her know, hey, you know, we got to be accountable for ourselves, and let her know when she's doing something wrong. But the whole part of the broken dad thing is I could do a million things right, but of the million things I do right, there's going to be one thing that I feel I've not done right. And it's going to be that one thing that's going to bother me more than the million things I've done right, that I know I've done right, because other people's told me. Her doctors have told me, her teachers have told me, my friends have told me, family are told me. All these people say, hey, you're doing good. You're doing everything right. The back of my mind is there's just that one thing that, hey, Dave is saying something is still not right. And that's part of the whole broken dad thing. Because I'll never be 100%. And and I honestly feel it just goes for any father, any man out there. No matter what we do, we'll never be 100%. Whether it's society saying, oh, well, you're too masculine. Oh, well, fuck you. It's like, I was born this way. It's what men were meant to be. If that's your feeling, I feel sorry for you. Or, well, you're not doing good enough as a father. It's like, seriously? I'm beating myself up enough as it is, and you got to go and just rub it in my face? You get that stuff too. And that's not what we need. It's far from what we need. And we need to get away from that. And as men, we'll we'll tear each other down. Women are out there tearing each other down. We don't need to be like that. And we see how horrible it can get. you know I think as men has a better chance of, like, hey, I see you're going through something. What can I do for you? you know what I'm curious about that keeps us from that, is it pride? Is it shame? Is it the fact that we are in a better place and we see a person in an unfortunate place that we don't ever want to be in, and we like, well, you put yourself there? No, we can't be like that. we need a, what do I want to say? We need to find a way to put pride aside, get over our prejudices, get over what we were taught, especially if it was a, a single mind setting per se. Like, how do I want to say it? So, when I was going to church back in the day, I was always told angels could be on earth disguised as anything. God could be disguised as a beggar on the street, a homeless person, and we would never know it because we're looking at the outer person. And I think that's what we do a lot. We look at the outer person. We don't want to see the inner person per se. And for the longest time, I'm afraid to not give to someone who's like asking for a little something, because I'm afraid that that is that angel in disguise testing me, testing, my worth as not only a human being, my soul, and if, I'm deserving of, an awesome place in heaven in the afterlife. And I think we judge each other too much because of our outer appearance. It's like we see someone on the streets. Oh well, they brought them on themselves. Well, not necessarily always the case, you know. But do we have to be like that? No, but unfortunately we are. And I think we there's this huge window of opportunity for us as men to be like, it's enough. Here, here's a couple dollars. Get you something to eat. You know, do what you need to do to find you comfort in this trying times. Or, hey man, you look really down. Do you mind telling me about it? Or, you look really angry. I hate the fact that you're like this. I hate to see anyone this mad. Talk to me. Tell me what's gotten you so riled up, so angry. Or the tears in your eyes just has moved me to wonder what happened. It's wanting to be present in a stranger's life in their time of need. No matter their skin color, their religion, their wherever they're from, whether they're rich, they're poor, no matter what. The fact that we can be a beacon of light in their darkest hours, even if it's a minute thing, because it's that small thing that could really liven a person up and turn things around for them. It could be someone who's just lost a child, a loved one, a wife, a girlfriend, a parent, a family member, a friend, or a coworker, or someone they looked up to, or even as their favorite celebrity, and say, "Hey, man, you need a hug. Can I give you a hug?" Or fathers, could kind of, just talking with one another. It's like, man, I hear that. Like, you know, when it comes to like single fathers, especially like, society likes to look down on us, especially like government officials. I was like, oh, well, you need to pay your child support. And that's all we're worth to them is just, a paycheck and nothing more. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Like some of these mothers out there don't deserve that because they take this child support and waste it, and the child never benefits from it. So what's the point? You have a father who's wanting to be there, be present, and is still kicked to the curb for just being a man, and that's it. But for me, my experiences in this world, I'm thankful for my daughter. I hate that she's gone through everything she has, but it's been a learning experience for me as a whole. I don't think I could appreciate people with special needs as much as I do now if my daughter wasn't a person of special needs. I don't think I could appreciate, other fathers going through what feels like hell and an eternity in hell with their sick children, their terminally ill children, if my daughter hadn't had her, heart issues. I've I've had a have this great respect for anyone, any parent, any father who's, especially single father of a special needs child, who's just doing anything they can to make sure they're doing right by their child. That's a man. That's a fucking man right there. You know, and we need to give each other our dues on this, and it's not being done enough, if at all. And I think it's a shame. And I think society needs to really be turned on its head. I think society's going in the wrong direction. Um, I think everything's just upside down right now. Um, there's people like me out there. Not just a father, maybe just a man is just like had lost and struggling. I've since 2020, I lost my brother due to drugs in November 2020. My daughter lost her mom because diabetes. She wouldn't take care of herself. So eh, the blood sugar thing got her mom, and unfortunately my daughter found her mom unresponsive, dead. Um, you know, and then I was married, and and I'm on the fence about this one. I loved her, but she didn't like my child because my child has special needs, and she didn't want to spend the rest of her life with me, knowing my daughter was going to be living with me for the rest of our lives. She wanted just me and her. I get that on a human level. I get that. On a reality level, it should have been that wasn't going to happen. And I can't brush my daughter aside. We went through that, you know, and then I lost my mom almost 3 months ago. So it's been a wild 5 years. But you know what? This is life. I don't regret any of it. You know, I'm I'm pushing through. I'm I'm still here. I don't believe in, just giving up on life and just finding a way out because, that's a coward's way out. I think we need everyone has a capability of being strong enough to find that will of pushing through. Life is great. This is an awesome, world we live in, We're going to have our ups, we're going to have our downs. We're going to struggle. No one ever said life is perfect. It's never going to be perfect. We just need to get to a point to where we don't give up and we don't say I'm done. How do I leave this world because I can't take it no more? That is where this song comes in. We need to be there for one another, lift each other up, and say, hey, I will help carry you through. Because there's men out there right now who are feeling that there's no other option than, you know, leaving this world as soon as possible, any means necessary. That should never be the case, ever. So going back to what I do if my daughter was to one day just not be here in this world, I would want to reach out to anyone and everyone I could. Because I'm going to need their strength. Because mine would be gone. And to those of you fathers who have lost your child, I applaud you. I do. Because you're still here. You found a way to keep living one way or another. Because there's going to be a day it's not, and it's going to be coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, that my daughter won't be here with me. And I think about this every day. And that's why I try to stay upbeat most days that I can, even though I'm still trying to get through the loss of my mom. I still have other, worries and struggles outside of that. But that's where I am. But I know I'm not the only one. So, as I end this episode, if you ever find yourself at the bottom of the barrel, you feel there's no way out, there's no way up, you are at the end, you cannot find the strength, please reach out. Please leave a comment. You know, this world is precious. We have one life. We have one life to make an impact, not only for the people around us, but to the world in general, of how we want to be remembered. And we also have a path to where people are left with nothing but questions. My goal ultimate goal with these video series on YouTube, if it's just one person out of billions in this world whose life may be, on the brink of just giving up, but maybe to hear my story, to hear my words, they'll be like, you know what? I'm going to give this another go. I'm going to push through this. I'm going to talk to somebody, anybody, looking for a reason to live. I'm telling you now, there's always a reason to live. Always. It can get hard sometimes. But we need to find the strength. You need to find the strength to carry on. Because you yourself deciding to carry on could be a light to somebody else. And it could go on and on and on and on. So one life saved could be 100, 1,000, million lives saved. And you would never know. But again, my name is Dave Hodge. And this is The Broken Dad. And thank you so much for watching. And please, please leave me some comments. Let me know what you think of these videos. If there's something I could do different, or what you're liking about them, what you're not liking about them, or what you like to see new, or any topics you'd like for me to talk about. I'm all ears. So please, I appreciate it. And again, if you like what you're, listening to, please follow, please leave a like. I appreciate it. Again, Dave Hodge, The Broken Dad with Dave Hodge. You all take care and have a great rest of your week. Bye.